स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हि या सर्वविद्यास्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहम्। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। With salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Vivekananda, let us begin this today's a very special function, very special, the celebration of the birth anniversary of Mahendranath Gupta, M., who has actually recorded the conversations with Sri Ramakrishna with very special skills that he had. It is a unique book. Its uniqueness, is actually difficult to fathom in how many ways it is a unique contribution to the world's religious literature. It is the first time in the history that a God incarnation's words have come to us verbatim as he spoke in the settings that these words were spoken. There is no such evidence. It is in other incarnations like Rama. It is all legendary things, all legends. Nobody really took down what Rama said. It is Valmiki wrote it. It is one version says that as Valmiki wrote it, so Rama enacted. It is that referring to the script, then Rama enacted accordingly. So it is therefore not a description of the advice of Rama as Rama spoke. So it is not very helpful from that angle. It is same with Krishna. We have Bhagavad Gita, but Bhagavad Gita is not a verbatim recording of what Sri Krishna was telling. It is told in the colophon, it is in the meditation on Bhagavad Gita that Vyasena Grathita. It is Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam. So Vyasa was the one who put these verses, whatever conversation was going on between Krishna and Arjuna was given this verse form and was put in Mahabharata. The words belong to Vyasa, not to Sri Krishna. This is to be remembered to see how unique this gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is. Same with Jesus and Buddha. The words have been later somehow, as people remembered or thought about, have been put there. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is the unique book where things are presented as it happened. He was taking the notes while Sri Ramakrishna was talking to devotees. And nobody else, he was probably Sri Ramakrishna did not exactly say that, but when somebody else, Swami Shivananda, at that time Tarak his name, he was recording some teachings of conversations with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna forbid him to do that. Don't do it. So it is only M thus appears to have been specially selected for this purpose. And thus we have this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the book that is most famous in this world as the carrier of the message of Sri Ramakrishna. His birth anniversary is not celebrated in most of the centers of our order, rather just maybe one or two centers, and this is one of them, where we started celebrating it, that too not on our own. Our devotee Tridib Rai is mainly responsible for that. And that too, there is so many things get combined into it. It is, he wanted to just invite all the Swamis and devotees, and then he said, let us give it this thing name. But it is also close to the birthday of his daughter. So that is how it got. I am giving you the history of how this program, then till 2019, we observed it at his home. Then the big demon stepped in, and then 2020 it was not done at all. 2021 it was planned at his home. But there were concerns that he has a nice hall there, but in summer it becomes quite hot, you have to keep on running AC, and there were a lot of people, how could they be accommodated there in that comparatively small space. On other occasions we could cram them, but in COVID everybody was wanting what is called social distancing, so it is that was not possible there. So he was trying to arrange it outdoors, but the rains were threatening, and so it was arranged here. And then it turned out to be so good. And we still keep the responsibility of sponsoring the event on him, that yes, so he has to pay the bills. So it is. So that is how it was the wish of Sri Ramakrishna that we celebrate this occasion. I am very happy to welcome you all. He will now conduct the program. You have that program. So he will go according to that. We just spoke about it. And it is, let us see, please let us feel the presence of Sri Ramakrishna through M. Swami Vivekananda mentions that M, his last name was Gupta. Gupta means hidden. So he said in the whole Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the author is hidden. He has fulfilled the meaning of his name there, that you don't see him coming out. Sometimes he has used some pseudonyms for that whenever he wants to say about himself. But the recording is so authentic. And so it is like that. Sri Ramakrishna alone is there. M is not present in that. So that kind of art of presenting a person without the presenter interfering is very rare, and you see it in M. So let us think of it, feel the presence of Sri Ramakrishna as M brings it to us through many readings will be there, singing will be there. So please join. Thank you very much for coming.
Namaskar. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our program. Thank you, Swamiji, for that nice introduction. He gave you the background, how this whole program started, and truly, that is what happened. I think, if I remember correctly, 2003 or so, when I built the house in Wareham, we generally have a religious gathering so that people can come. And their presence in our house, moving around, we consider, particularly if they are devotees, is a blessed event. And that's how we started with Swamiji and Swami Tyaganandaji, also of Boston. He came the first time. And as we were standing outside in the yard under the tall trees on the lawn, both the Swamis were talking and we were all surrounding him. And Swamiji probably mentioned this is an ideal place for a Bhakta Samagam. This is an ideal place for the devotees to get together. I say, oh, that is really nice. Why don't we do that then? So that is how Bhakta Samagam. And also, what you said about closeness to my daughter's birthday, that also is true, because 14th July happens to be the birthday of Sri M. 14th July 1854. And my daughter is born 14th July 1984. And so I said, well, that is a good coincidence. By the way, she also likes to write. So we said, we promoted that thing. I said, why don't we celebrate? And that will be one celebration for you. And if we dedicate that day for a big celebration, it will be a time of rejoice. A lot of people will come, and you will get a lot of gifts also. So that is how we started. And we continued that trend for some years. Then after that, Swami Tyagananda used to be always a little bit busy for this reason or that reason. So Swami Yogatmananda, he was the continuous, unbroken support of this event. So I really appreciate that we have kept that chain going up till now. And without his backing the whole thing, I don't think that I could have kept up this thing. Even though there are, preparations and all those things, but we have the support of Swamiji and the entire institution, you all, and the kitchen and all those things. So I really appreciate that he provided us again, and we are doing it. Yes, the only bad part, I think, when we moved last year, the event from my house to this place, I said, well, if this is God's will, that's what it will be. Sri M wants to be, his photograph is here, so he wants to be worshipped here in the presence of Thakur, because that is his beloved. So rather than my house, I moved him here. I said, the only thing for me that I would miss the presence of Charandhuli of Swamiji in our property, in my house, and all the devotees, because that's also a blessing. But that I have to contend with. Swamiji said, well, we can come some other time. So you have to do that. Come some other time. All right, so that is the background of this event. Now today, I don't know whether I see quite a few faces, but I would have thought that there might be more left over from the previous night's guests. Anyway, slowly the people are coming. I think some people contacted, they are driving on the road or something. Anyway, we want to get started, and 11 o'clock was our usual time at the old house where we used to do that. And so probably we are keeping closely with that timing rather than 10:30. That 10:30 was a kind of a little bit surprise for me also. I said, yesterday, I learnt about it yesterday. I learnt it yesterday from what, Chandana or somebody? Yeah, I said, oh really? But anyway, no, he said, okay, well, summertime it is okay, we can move up. So we are probably close to the whole timing. And we will start our first program with a reading by one of our great devotees that we missed him for a long time, and with my request and being in contact again, Vishwanath was a great discovery for me very recently, that he had vanished. So he agreed to come, and he has something for you so that he will share it with you. Okay, Vishwanath, please.
M's birthday celebration. I offer my humble salutations to revered M. My heartfelt thanks to our Swamiji for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this auspicious occasion of the birth anniversary of one of the greatest benefactors of mankind. When God incarnates to stem the tide of materialism, he brings with him his people, his playmates, to play in his cosmic drama. Each of his playmates playing a memorable role to perfection. M's role in the cosmic drama is unique. M combines in himself the noble qualities of Devarshi Narada and Maharshi Vedavyasa. These are the words of Swami Shivananda, Mahapurush Maharaj, the second president of the order. As Narada, M constantly sings the glories of the Lord while chanting his many names. And as Maharshi Vedavyasa, M distributes the sweet knowledge and wisdom of Vedanta. From the age of 28, when he met Sri Ramakrishna, to age 78, for 50 long years, M lived a Sri Ramakrishna-centered life, completely erasing I and mine. These are the obstacles from his personality, but constantly working to spread the message of his master. M's work, that is Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita in Bengali and Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in English, is not an ordinary book at all. When you have the book in the palm of your hand, you are literally holding the feet of the Lord himself. With the book in your possession, there is no more any need for you to go to any temple, no need to for any pilgrimage center, and no need to engage in any arduous and painful penance. All the negativities of the mind are slowly but surely washed away, and simplicity and unselfish love spontaneously emerge in the heart. The brute is transformed into human, and the human into divine. With the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna for inspiration in your hand, one has the potential to reach great heights, become broad as the sky and deep as the ocean. M has indeed done a remarkable job in producing this masterpiece, and the entire mankind is indebted to M now and forever. To his devotees, M used to say often that Sri Ramakrishna has left an easy but very profound Maha Mantra, a great mantra, well suited to Kali Yuga. And the mantra is Naham Tuhu, not I, but thou, O Lord. Act, but offer all the fruits of your actions, remembering the Lord and chanting his name and putting all your burden on the Lord. This is the sure way to find peace and joy in life. M himself followed this injunction consistently. M was in a dejected and a depressed mood, and he was actually planning on committing suicide. But as soon as M came in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, the dark, depressive mood left him. M became a happy person filled with a zest for life. So there is hope for everyone in this world. If one understands the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and internalizes the teachings of as M did, and one is sure to find peace and joy. As Sri Ramakrishna himself says, if you meditate on me, you will inherit my treasure. My treasure is gnana, that is knowledge, bhakti, devotion, viveka, discernment, vairagya, dispassion, sukha, happiness, shanti, peace, prema, that is God's love for God, and samadhi, deep absorption in the Atman. M was born on 14th July 1854, the auspicious day of Nagapanchami. His parents, Swarnamayi and Madhusudan, were pious. They belonged to the Vaidya Brahmin family. They had 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. M was the third child. As a student, M was exceptionally bright with an uncanny memory. M was uncommonly fond of acquiring knowledge. Of all the subjects he studied, M had a special liking for astronomy. His fascination for the sun and the moon and the stars was matched only by his love of nature and kindness to all that lives. On clear days and nights, M would spend hours looking at the starry skies and God's mysteries, and on rainy days, he would go out and drench himself in the pouring rain. M was presented with a diary when he was 13 years old. He started to write his everyday activities in detail. One of the earliest readings in his diary reads, "Today on rising, I greeted my father and my mother by lying prostrate before them." M was very reverent, not only to his parents and teachers, but towards all elders, particularly sadhus and sannyasis. In the foreword to the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Aldous Huxley writes that M was peculiarly qualified for his task. To a reverent love for his master, to a deep and experiential knowledge of the master's teaching, M added a prodigious memory for the small happenings of each day and a happy gift for recording them in an interesting and realistic way. Making use of his natural gifts and of the circumstances in which he found himself, M produced a book unique, so far as my knowledge goes, in the literature of hagiography. The Kathamrita, the Ramakrishna Kathamrita, is a classic of a totally accurate reporting. Nothing is omitted here, nothing is altered. The book is complete with all the characters present, the place, time, day and date. Reading the book is highly stimulating and wonderfully instructive. The book has proved to be a veritable nectar for the spiritually hungry. However, when M started making notes, it was not with the intention of publishing them later. They were meant only for his own edification and enlightenment. One day, when Holy Mother Sharda Devi was at Neelambar Mukherjee's garden house, M read out some of his notes to her, and she was thrilled. She was very pleased to hear the words of Sri Ramakrishna, so faithfully recorded. And Holy Mother, a few days later, wrote to him from Jairambati that they are the very words of Thakur himself, and asked M to get them published soon. To M, this was the divine command. M started publishing the notes in the Brahmavadi magazine in the form of pamphlets for distribution, beginning with the issue October 15, 1897, under the title Leaves from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. M sent the pamphlet to Swami Vivekananda and others. Swami Vivekananda was all praise for the great work, and in his letter dated October 1897, so now you are doing just the thing. There is some French expression, I don't know really exactly how to pronounce this one, c'est bon mon ami. That is the way, he said. Many, many thanks for the publication. Let it see the blaze of daylight. And a month later, in another letter dated 24th November 1897, Swami Vivekananda said, many, 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 many thanks for your second leaflet. It is indeed wonderful. The move is quite original, and never was the life of a great teacher brought before the public untarnished by the writer's mind as you are doing. The language also is beyond all praise. So fresh, so pointed, and withal so plain and easy. I cannot express in adequate terms how I have enjoyed them. I am really in a transport when I read them. Strange, isn't it? Our teacher and Lord was so original, and each one of us will have to be original or nothing. I now understand why none of us attempted his life before. It has been reserved for you, M, this great work. He is with you, evidently. Socratic dialogues are Plato all over. You are entirely hidden. Moreover, the dramatic part is infinitely beautiful. Everybody likes it, here or in the West. And M started publishing the first volume of the Bengali Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita was published in 1902, the second volume in 1904, third in 1908, and the fourth in 1910. But it took M 22 years to complete the fifth volume, which appeared posthumously in 1932. The Kathamrita covers the period of Sri Ramakrishna's life from the day M met in late February 1882 to 23rd April 1886, a period of nearly 4.5 years. And it is said that M saw Sri Ramakrishna 187 times in that period. His first visit with his nephew Siddheshwar on a Sunday afternoon was very short. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to come again, and after a couple of days, M went to Sri Ramakrishna. His second visit at 8 in the morning was a long one, fairly long one, and extremely productive for all of us. This is when M said that his ego was completely crushed. He was snubbed and ridiculed for his views, and all the dross was forcibly removed from him so that the pure gold could be extracted and that M might be made a fit instrument to carry out his mission flawlessly. Of the two greatest disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Narendranath and Mahendranath, both of whom incidentally were born in the same Simulia region of Calcutta, 9 years apart, Narendranath, later Swami Vivekananda, is the heroic, cyclonic monk with a thunderous voice proclaiming the glory of the Atman, the self within. And he was to spread the far and wide throughout the world this message of Sri Ramakrishna. And Swami Vivekananda at the same time gave his own countrymen a shocking jolt to wake them up from a deep slumber brought on by centuries of slavery and subjugation. The second great pillar of the Neo-Vedanta movement was M. Mahendranath Gupta, a highly educated graduate of the Calcutta University, completely at home with Eastern and Western philosophy and religion, with science and astronomy, with logic and political economy, with poetry and literature, but with all that, with a very reverential attitude, with a very humble and self-effacing personality. Sri Ramakrishna recognized him the very first time he saw him. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "You belong to the ever-perfected class, Nitya Siddhas. You are my own, of the same substance as father and son. You trade in the jewelry of the spirit." In the second visit of M, Sri Ramakrishna told M, you see my boy, you have some good signs. I can see them by looking at a person's eyes, forehead, and so on. The eyes of yogis have a peculiar look. In the case of some of the yogis, it looks as if they have just left their meditation seat after long divine contemplation. In a very short time, M's sharp mind understood the real purpose of human life. M quickly shed all the Brahma Samaj ideas he had. He was made to understand what is true knowledge. True knowledge is knowing God and not accumulating book knowledge. And then when M called his wife Agne, that is ignorant, and he corrected M immediately. And next M understood that God can be both formless and with form. He started arguing with Sri Ramakrishna about that. And Sri Ramakrishna told him, God can be both formless and with form and much more. And it is essential to try to bring light to one's own heart instead of preaching others about God. And M had asked whether to teach people, when they are worshipping God in the form of an idol, then they should be corrected. But Sri Ramakrishna corrected him right away. And M understood that revelation is a necessary and essential condition to have the knowledge of the unconditioned reality that is beyond all percepts and concepts. M quickly understood that mind is the tool and mind is the goal, and a concentrated, one-pointed mind should be developed through practice. So he asks the master, "Sir, how can I fix my mind on God?" And Sri Ramakrishna answered, "Chant incessantly God's name and sing His glories. And very important, always keep the company of sadhus, sadhu sangha. So company of holy men is important. Next, householders when M asked a question, Sri Ramakrishna answered, yes, householders too can realize God in spite of the heavy burden that they carry. Be like a housemaid in a rich man's house and learn to meditate even while working. This is important. Said, constantly discriminate between what is real and what is unreal. Know that God and God alone is. The transformation of M the skeptic and cynical to M the faithful and large-hearted was brought on in a most wonderful way by Sri Ramakrishna in just a matter of hours. M started internalizing every teaching of the Master fully and consistently. And M's third and the fourth visits to Sri Ramakrishna on 5th March 1882 and 6th March 1882 were full of surprises for M again. Sri Ramakrishna, in the third visit, Sri Ramakrishna introduced M to Narendra, and the two remained lifelong friends. In the late afternoon of 5th March, and Narendra sang a song melodiously, and Sri Ramakrishna went into Samadhi, losing all external consciousness with his face beaming with divine glory and bliss. M had never anybody in a Samadhi. I had never seen anything like this before, and he was wonderstruck. That scene left an indelible impression on him. The next day, on Sunday, 6th March, M was to see another side of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to a host of school students. The hall was full, and there were ripples of laughter that M could hear. And on seeing M enter the hall, Sri Ramakrishna burst out laughing, and the others joining him. When the laughter subsided a little, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Look, he comes again." Once a peacock was fed an opium pill at 4 o'clock, and punctually at 4 o'clock next day, the peacock appeared for a second dose. The laughter was contagious, and then all the boys were rolling on the ground. And M thought to himself, oh, yesterday I saw him in the God-intoxicated state of deep absorption. And today, now Sri Ramakrishna has become a young boy among boys, as it were, making merry with everybody. And M was astounded by the human side of this divine being. And in his life, M too displayed later both the human and divine attainments. M gave the immortal classic to the world, as our Swamiji mentioned, but very few people knew anything about M himself. And this lacuna was filled by an young, pure-hearted college student, Jagabandhu Roy, 21 years old, who was privileged to meet M accidentally almost one day in 1925. The immense joy that his conversations with M brought him that day inspired him to record them in the form of a diary, just as M had done in the case of his master, Sri Ramakrishna. Jagabandhu Roy was blessed with initiation soon after into Brahmacharya by Mahapurush Maharaj on 25th March 1927 and initiated into sannyasa on the 21st January 1930, the birthday of Swami Vivekananda. And as Swami Nityatmananda, he has authored the day-to-day conversations of M. They are published as Mahadarshan in Bengali in 16 volumes, and M, the Apostle and the Evangelist, in 6 volumes. And Paul Brenton, a British writer and author of Search in Secret India, met M in 1932, just before M's passing away, and narrated his meeting in his book. Paul Brenton writes, a venerable patriarch has stepped out from the pages of the Bible. A figure from Mosaic times has turned to flesh. M had a large, big forehead, long white beard, grave countenance, and large reflective eyes full of love. And Paul Brenton writes, every day I used to bask in the spiritual sunshine of M's presence. The atmosphere around him was so tender and beautiful, so gentle and loving, I felt the radiance of palpable peace and bliss. M was loved by Sri Ramakrishna and all Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. Many of the young disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were M students. 3 of the 6 Ishwar Kotis, Rakhal, Baburam, and Purna, were his students. And there are some beautiful incidents there. Once a devotee went to see the Holy Mother in her Calcutta residence, Udbodhan, and Holy Mother asked the devotee, "Do you know Master Mahashaya?" And the devotee replied, "No, Mother, I don't know him." Holy Mother said, "Then go downstairs. He is there and do pranams to him. He is very pure. He is a Mahapurusha, a great soul." And we learned that Holy Mother used to send many of her young devotees to Master Mahashaya. And the second incident, M had gone to Belur Mutt. His attendant Dhirendra, later Swami Sadbhavananda, was asked to go to the kitchen and get some curds. And young Dhirendra asked the Bandari Maharaj in charge of the kitchen and store for some curds. And the Bandari Maharaj said, "Please wait for a while. The offering to Thakur is not done yet." And so Dhirendra started going downstairs. When on the way he met Swami Premananda. Swami asked him what he wanted. And he said, "Master Mahashaya wants a little curd, but the offering to Thakur is not yet done." Swami Premananda said, Come with me." He took the vessel of curds when he went to the kitchen, held it reverentially in both hands before the portrait of Sri Ramakrishna, closed his eyes in deep meditation, offered it to Sri Ramakrishna, and took a portion of it and gave it to Dhirendra. And Swami Premananda said, "What a calamity was averted today. Don't you know that it is Sri Ramakrishna and nothing but Sri Ramakrishna that resides in Yam? Thakur would not have been happy today to be refused a little food." And the third incident, Swami Sharadananda went to see Yam just before his death at Morton School. When Yam learned that Swami Sharadananda was struggling slowly with his bulky body to climb the stairs, Yam quickly tried to go downstairs, but Swami Sharadananda had almost reached the top of the third floor. And Yam had the highest respect for the sannyasi disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And he could not bear to see Swami Sharadananda suffer so much. However, Swami Sharadananda had already reached, and then Yam offered him a chair. And Swami Sharadananda did not sit down. He was waiting for Yam to sit down first. And when Yam sat down, Swami Sharadananda, immediately knelt before Yam, touching his feet with great reverence. Yam protested and cried out, "What are you doing, Sharat Maharaj?" But Swami Sharadananda kept repeating, "Oh, Master Mahashaya, you are our elder brother. You are our elder brother. Please bless us." And Yam is like an elder brother to all of us. May Yam bless us all on this auspicious day to acquire pure love and devotion to Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda, and all the great Swamis. And thank you all.
Thank you, Vishwanath. That was such a beautiful writing, and it is all original. You gave so many nice incidents that I was not familiar with some of those incidents. So it's a great experience of learning, and you must have devoted quite a lot of time researching all those things. So we really thank you again.
Yeah, it was a learning experience for me also.
I think that is true, and I think as I was flipping through the pages, I was learning. I said, well, this is actually an exercise in self-learning, because you do an event and in the process you learn. So you are actually self-improvement. It is an exercise in self-improvement, which basically for everybody else. You are here, you are going to learn something, and the presence of Thakur, Holy Mother, Swamiji, all these are really certain things that goes into your spirit and will keep you always in good spirit and high level of thinking. So I'm glad that all of you came, and we will have one more lecture after this, but I would like some song in between. Maybe Charlie, you wanted to sing some song? Can you? If you, yeah. That kind of will give you a little bit of a break. because when you listen to a talk so loaded with the thoughts that Vishwanathji has put through, it would need some time to sip in. As Swamiji always says, Rasagulla, it needs some sipping of the rasa. So you let your mind absorb all the thoughts and let Charlie give us some nice music. After that, we will have one more reading by, I'm looking, Pritish. You will be the next after that. I appreciate your accepting the offer to present.
Yeah, make yourself comfortable, then we'll sit down.
What?
You ready?
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed, TK said we moved this from his house to this place, and Thakur also called himself this place. No, I'm joking. So Maharaj requested that I sing Ramakrishna Went to Temple, which I wrote the words, and you may recognize the tune. Ramakrishna went to temple doing Kali Puja, went into Samadhi, when you do it goes right through you. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda. Meditation every day helps change all those samskaras. Sarada Devi took a journey just to see her husband. When she got there, he told her she'd have hundreds of children. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda. Meditation every day helps change all those samskaras. Swamiji went to Chicago, Parliament of Religions. When he did address the crowd, the cheering, it was legions. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda. Meditation every day helps change all those samskaras. Certain monks did get together and they formed an order. Turned out to be Christmas Eve, and now it's gotten larger. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda. Meditation every day helps change all those samskaras. Ramakrishna went to temple doing Kali Puja, went into Samadhi, when you do it goes right through ya. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda. Meditation every day helps change all those samskaras. Thank you.
And so Abhijit will sing a song because he has another duty after that, so he is finishing his time. When he comes back, I will use him again, I hope. When you come back again, maybe I can use your talent.
Sing again?
Who knows? Thakur's wish always.
Okay, so in the gospel you'll see like so a plethora of songs, but like one singer you'll not hear, surprisingly, is M himself. It's very rare that he sang song, but today I'm here going to sing two of his songs that he sang. Actually, on that day he sang 6 songs back to back. It was November 1885, and Thakur was recuperating in the what was it? Shampur Bati, yes. And that was the day of Kali Puja, and Thakur and everybody else sat in a circle, and they sat for meditation, and Thakur went to Samadhi. All the devotees, they came and started offering flowers at his feet, and the descriptions vary a little bit with the Leela Prasanga. And when Niranjan Maharaj, he came and offered flowers, he put his head on his feet and called him the Divine Mother and said, Brahmamayi, Brahmamayi, and everybody started saying, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. And right in middle of Samadhi, his expression changed and he just took up this form, offering fearlessness and boon. And then there were few songs. Girish Ghosh sang a song and a hymn, and another guy sang a hymn. And M just took off, singing 6 songs. 4 of them were when Thakur was still in the form of Mother Kali. And then Thakur came out of his meditation and he asked M to sing these songs that I'm telling you. And you will see how it matches with the awareness of Thakur himself. So this is one song where the meaning I'll give you quickly is like always with Shiva and in deep bliss, merged in bliss, and the feet tottering left and right but not falling down. That's how Thakur would do. He would be like tottering. And now things have reversed in directions, and Rajas is building up, and both Shiva and Kali, they are ready, making creation, not worried about shame or fear, So this is the one we are not having tabla. Because I get rushed when he's doing that. Shiva Shange Shadarange, Shiva Shange Shadarange, Ananda Magana, Shudha Pane, Dhalo Dhalo Dhale Kintu Pade Nama, Shudha Pane, Dhalo Dhalo Dhale Kintu Pade Na, Shiva Shange Shadarange. Viparita Ratatura Padobhare Kape Dhara, Viparita Ratatura Padobhare Kape Dhara, Ubhaye Pagoler Para, Lajja Bhay Ar Mane Na, Ubhaye Pagoler Para, Ubhaye Pagoler Para, Ubhaye Pagoler Para, Lajja Bhay Ar Mane Na, Shiva Shange Shadarange, Anando Magana, Shudha Pane, Dhalo Dhalo Dhale Kintu Pade Na, Shiva Shange Shadarange. So this is from the, you can see that it's the perspective of Kali coming down into the created world. But she's tottering, but not falling down, But, Sri Ramakrishna would say there are 2 persons here, like one is the Kali and the other is the devotee. So now this is somewhat of the next song he says, M to sing, is this song where Thakur himself is seeing nothing but Kali everywhere. And she calls like how you sport yourself, mother. You are Shama Shudha Tarangini, means all what I see is waves on the bliss of mother. And that formlessness has been broken. All I see is her body language, her gestures, her facial expression, her winking of her eyes is all I see in all this. Even what is scary is I see the Holy Mother with like jagged teeth and a sword in hand is what I see. But all this is for the benefit of the devotee. So all the purpose is to fulfill the desires of the sadhakas. And so Kamala Kanta's song, right? So he's saying, my desire is that mother, you play, you dance in the Kamal of Kamal. In the lotus of lotus, you start dancing. So when you see all this multiplicity, all you want is mother to, who is Purna Brahma Sanatani, like she's all pervasive and eternal mother, to come again. The desire comes back for the mother, Kamal, to have the mother dance in Kamal. So you have that C with you?
What do you want to see?
Oh, I can get it. Hold on. You got the microphone on? কখনো কি রঙ্গে থাকো মা, কখনো কি রঙ্গে থাকো মা, শ্যামা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী, শ্যামা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী। তুমি রঙ্গে ভঙ্গে অপাঙ্গে অনঙ্গে ভঙ্গ দাও জননী, রঙ্গে ভঙ্গে অপাঙ্গে অনঙ্গে ভঙ্গ দাও জননী, শ্যামা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী, কালী সুধা তরঙ্গিনী। লম্পে ঝম্পে কম্পে ধরা অসি ধরা করালিনী, লম্পে ঝম্পে কম্পে ধরা অসি ধরা করালিনী। তুমি ত্রিগুণা ত্রিপুরা তারা ভয়ঙ্কর কাল কামিনী, ত্রিগুণা ত্রিপুরা তারা ভয়ঙ্কর কাল কামিনী, ক্ষমা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী, কালী সুধা তরঙ্গিনী। সাধকেরও বাঞ্ছা পূর্ণ করো নানা রূপ ধারিণী, সাধকেরও বাঞ্ছা পূর্ণ করো নানা রূপ ধারিণী। কবু কমলের কমলে নাচো মা, পূর্ণ ব্রহ্ম সনাতনী, কমলের কমলে নাচো মা, পূর্ণ ব্রহ্ম সনাতনী, শ্যামা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী, কালী সুধা তরঙ্গিনী। কখনো কি রঙ্গে থাকো মা, কখনো কি রঙ্গে থাকো মা, শ্যামা সুধা তরঙ্গিনী, কালী সুধা তরঙ্গিনী। So yeah, so that was M singing song that Thakur wanted to sing him, and all these, many of these were giving chorus to him. So that's pretty unique, I thought. Thank you. First song was, second was Kamala Kanto. Who is the other one? Ram Prasad, yes.
very nice, beautiful song. I hope you all enjoyed it. He had the emotions in the song, as you can hear from his voice. Now we will go to a presentation by our Prithvish Basu, who has been a great devotee of this center for a long time. And when I approached him, he readily accepted. So I would appreciate if you can come, Prithvish, and give your presentation. Thank you. Please welcome Prithvish Basu.
Thank you, Swamiji. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Swamiji and Tridipda. About 7-8 years back, Sukollan and I went to M's house in the middle Calcutta. And that time, I suppose it was not acquired by Ramakrishna Mission, still some talks going on. And when we are doing the pranam at the shrine, M's shrine, Thakur's garments was there with the chapel there, and whoever was showing us, I don't know whether that person was a family member or not, but there are other householders there from his family, and we told them that at Providence Center we celebrate M's birthday, and so they are glad to know that. So I will read from this what Ramakrishna taught. So little preamble for those who do not know. You know, M, he had a school there in Calcutta, Morton School, and is in the middle Calcutta, about 15 minutes away from the house I just mentioned, and probably acquired around early 1900. 1905 he started, 1905, yeah, right. And he had on the fourth floor, in Indian standard third floor, on the roof, he had a room there. There's a shrine, and the terrace, open terrace, lots of beautiful plants. The description is there in this book, and it was like a hermitage. He used to call Naimisharanya, and I used to live in that neighborhood, not too far from that, and that school was. After M passed away in 1932, his son, Prabhash, carried on for some time, but then they sold that school to someone else, and that name was not Morton Institution anymore. And I used to live in that neighborhood, and I used to go to my high school walking by that all the time, every day. I didn't know that who M was and who that school, all that history you didn't know. If I had known, I could have gone in. Then Abhijit and I, 3 years or 4 years back, I went back to that school. That school is not called Morton Institution. It's something else, Hindu Academy. And that was a Saturday or Sunday. The school was not in session, so they did not let us in. Actually, that ashram, that Ames place is still there. So we could not get in. So we saw from outside. And the school is kind of dilapidated condition. And its school itself probably is half functional, so I don't know how many years it will stay. That building will stay. It's a four-story building, and incidentally, there was an article in Udbodhan about 2 years back. One person went there recently, meaning that time, and he recorded everything in that fourth floor Naimisharanya, where aim is to sit together every day from 1905 to 1932, just a 15 minutes walk, surrounded by his devotees and give talk. And so this person went there about 2 years back and wrote that article in Udbodhan, and he has vividly described everything and compared with what it was there at that time, and there are some changes and all. That shrine is still there. So I love to go there. I'll try again this winter time. Maybe I'll go during the school hours so that they will let me in, because that building may not be there for a long time. So that building is still there, And so Aim used to give discourse surrounded by his devotees every evening after school hours. And there was one person who recorded all those things for 20 plus years, similar to what Aim recorded Sri Ramakrishna's Kathamrita for 4 years, that this person, devotee, recorded it for more than 20 years, who became known as Swami Nityamananda. And as Vishwanath mentioned, that came out in 16 volumes, Srimad Darshan. So these are taken from that. Nityamananda, yeah, Nityamananda, right. So from his 16, those volumes, these are, Swami Chetananda has taken, reference those things. So these are taken from those Srimad Darshans. And what it is, what Aim told his disciples, again and again at the night, what Aim was always talks about Sri Ramakrishna, nothing else. Anybody wants to talk something else, he immediately change the topic. So always. So this chapter is what Ramakrishna taught, what Aim told his disciple. So I'm going to read from there. Be perfect. Aim, noticing the orderliness of the kitchen storeroom at the Mihijam retreat, made these following comments. Now, little introduction about the Mihijam retreat. That retreat actually, after Holy Mothers passed away in 1920, and then Swami Brahmanandaji and Turiyanandaji passed away in 1922, M became very despondent and very lonely. So he started going to that retreat, the Mihijam, that's in Bihar. It's today's Jharkhand. It's a very remote place surrounded by hill and very Spartan thing, just a hut, nothing else, very, very Spartan living, simple living. So he and his other devotees, other monks used to go there and spend months there. He started going there in 1922. He was 68 years old that time. And they had very simple food. At night, during the daytime, milk and rice. At night time, milk and bread. Very simple living and meditation and all that. So he's talking about that Mihijam retreat. And Aim, noticing the orderliness of the kitchen storeroom of the Mihijam retreat, made these following comments. It looks beautiful, as if it were a shrine. When the master came to Shampukur from Dakshineshwar for treatment, he first visited the kitchen storeroom to check on the household supplies. He noticed that the earthen pots did not have coil stands and lids. In hot weather, there's no refrigerator, and the earthen pot, the water is kept and it keeps cool. So it's every household. When I grew up, our household has the earthen pots. And so earthen pots. He noticed that the earthen pots did not have coil stands and lids. So he immediately sent somebody to the market to buy those things. The master could not tolerate disorderliness. He insisted on arranging things properly and putting them in their respective places. On one hand, he was in samadhi day and night, forgetting even his wearing cloth. And on the other hand, he was keenly alert to the details of everyday life. Master used to say, quote, "He who can keep an account of salt can also keep an account of sugar candy," unquote. Next one is the 3 practical lessons. This is M telling his disciples, Master taught us 3 practical lessons. First, have a charitable attitude towards all. One should remember that human beings are a mixture of good and evil. Second, show your manliness. Sometimes it's necessary to scold somebody if he does something wrong. Otherwise, he may exploit your goodness. Hiss, but don't bite. Once I said to the master, meaning M said to Sri Ramakrishna, quote, "My nature is so tender that I cannot hit a cat, even if it steals the fish from my plate," unquote. He immediately protested, Mr. Thakur protested, and said firmly, "Don't be like that. If you push the cat away, it will not die," unquote. I had thought the master would appreciate my pacifist attitude, but instead he was advising me to resist. Failure to act is not considered non-violence, rather is tamas or inertia. Third, if you find a person This is very important, I find. Third, if you find a person with predominantly evil tendencies, salute him from a distance, as people do the tiger god. All are gods, but maintain a safe distance from the tiger gods, otherwise it may kill you. in India, in Calcutta neighborhood, there are politicians and mafias and some kind of. So you see them, they're in the neighborhood, but you stay, you don't cross path with them. The next one is Sri Ramakrishna, an exemplar. The master told me this story, which took place during his early years in Dakshineshwar, when he was 25 years old. Before the arrival of Totapuri, various monks visited the master. One of these monks lived for a time in the Panchavati and served Gopala, the child Krishna. The master used to visit him and listen to his teachings. According to the tradition, one should serve the guru for 3 days. The master served the monk by bringing him water, food, and so on for 3 days, and then stopped going to him. The monk asked, "Why are you not visiting me anymore?" The master, means Sri Ramakrishna, replied, "I decided to serve you for 3 days, now that time is up." Once a Hatha yogi who practices postures was staying at the Panchavati. He was addicted to opium and also required 1.5 shares of milk, 1.5 kg probably, kg of milk daily. He asked Rakhal to collect some money for his needs. So Rakhal is said he would mention it to the Calcutta devotees. When the devotees arrived at master's room in Dakshineshwar, the Hatha yogi also arrived there, clattering his wooden sandals. As soon as the yogi reminded Rakhal about the money, the master said to the devotees, "Will you give him something?" Perhaps the devotees felt he was not a worthy recipient, so they kept quiet. Then the master continued, "Oh, you do not wish to give him anything. I see nobody is responding." Unquote. The master spoke tactfully so that the devotees might not feel pressured. The third one is this. A young disciple, Latu, who became Swami Adbhutananda later, used to live at Dakshineshwar with the master and serve him. Once a householder devotee presented him with a new pair of sandals. As he was busy most of the time serving the mother, he had no time to wear them. One night, a jackal in Dakshineshwar, that was a remote place that time, there are jackals there. One night, a jackal took one of them away. When the master learnt about it, he searched around the garden and finally found the sandal after an hour. The master returned it to his young disciple. At once, the Latu exclaimed, "Sir, what have you done? I am supposed to serve you, not the other way round." Saying this, he took the sandal from the master's hand. What affection the master had for the devotees. Next one. This is the Sri Ramakrishna, an exemplar. Different stories. The next story is this. Adhar Sen was an English educated person. Once he went to Jadu Mallik's house with the master. He bowed down to the goddess of Shingabahini, but did not make any offering. At once the master said to Adhar, "You have not offered anything to the mother?" Adhar said, "Sir, I did not know that one should make an offering after saluting the deity." He then offered a rupee. Occasionally, master would say, quote, "I do not usually say this lest you think I am egotistical, but when you come here, bring a pice worth of cardamom or myrobalan, which is hartaki, or something," unquote. He did not ask for any expensive, lest the devotees should stop coming. He did not ask for anything expensive, lest the devotees should stop coming. The master said this for the welfare of the devotees. There is a note in the parenthesis. According to Hindu custom, a person is supposed to offer a piece of fruit, a flower, or some money when visiting a deity or a holy person. The next incident is Shashi, a young disciple of Master, used to live in central Calcutta, who became Swami Ramakrishnananda later. As the Master was very fond of ice, he asked Shashi to bring one piece of ice from Calcutta. During summer, Shashi would walk nearly 6 miles with the ice wrapped in a cloth to bring it to the Master. He ignored the scorching sun. He felt tremendous joy in serving the Master. The Master would mix the ice with water and greatly enjoy it. What service Shashi gave to Master till the end. He offered his body, his mind, and everything else at the Master's feet. And thus he became great.
Thank Pritish for his nice presentation. Now I would like to have. Oh, mic is okay. You can hear it. Because it is such a close audience, I thought maybe you can hear me, but I am not that loud. Next, I would appreciate if Mukta, can you sing some song that will be a nice diversion from the talks that we are going through. Again, that gives you some time for digesting all the thoughts. So, please welcome Mukta.
This is the family joining together, Mukta is singing, her son is playing on his keyboard, and husband is playing tabla.
Intro.
Okay, I see.
भय भंजन पुरुष निरंजन रतिपति गंजन कारी यति जन रंजन मनोमद खंडन यति जन रंजन मनोमद खंडन जय भव बंधन हारी जय भव बंधन हारी जय जन पालक सुरदल नायक जय जय विश्व विधाता चिर शुभ साधक मतिमल पावक चिर शुभ साधक मतिमल पावक जय चित संशय त्राता जय चित संशय त्राता सुर नर वंदन विजर विबंधन चित मन नंदन कारी रिपु जय मंथन जय भवतारण रिपु जय मंथन जय भवतारण स्थल जल भूधर धारी स्थल जल भूधर धारी शमदम मंडन अभय निकेतन जय जय मङ्गलदाता जय सुख सागर नटवर नागर जय सुख सागर नटवर नागर जय शरणागत पाता जय शरणागत पाता ब्रह्मतम भास्कर जय परमेश्वर सुखकर सुंदर भाषी अचल सनातन जय मव पावन अचल सनातन जय मव पावन जय विजयी अविनाशी जय विजयी अविनाशी भक्त विमोहन वरतनुदारण जय हरि कीर्तन बोला गद गद भाषण चित्त मन तोषण गद गद भाषण चित्त मन तोषण नल नल नर्तन लीला नल नल नर्तन लीला मति गति वर्धन कलिबल मर्दन विषय विराग प्रसारी जड़ चित्त चेतक भव जल मेलक जड़ चित्त चेतक भव जल मेलक जय हर मानस चारी जय नर मानस चारी जय पुरुषोत्तम अनुपम संयम जय जय अंतर्यामी खर तर साधन नर दुख वारण खर तर साधन नर दुख वारण जय राम कृष्ण नमामि जय राम कृष्ण नमामि जय राम कृष्ण नमामि जय राम कृष्ण नमामि
Thank you, Mukta and Tushar and the gentleman, I forgot his name. Pranab, yeah, very nice. I was thinking Pranab, but Nirav or something, I was just mixing it. Pranab, very nice name. So for the nice music. And now we will end with my presentation. I guess many of you probably are also wondering what is the time we're going to finish, but we have a Sankirtan also at the end, so we'll do that. Right. So, but as I was preparing for the presentation, I was flipping through some pages and I found some amusing incidents, so I thought that I will share it with you. It's always nice to hear some of those anecdotes from the lives of the great people. It was in summer of 1899 when Swamiji was visiting the Ridgely Manor. He stayed in Ridgely Manor probably the longest time, 10 weeks at a stretch. And those of you who have been there, it is a very good place for recouping your health. It's northern part of New York, 80 miles from New York. Beautiful, lush ground, 10 acres of lush ground, nice trees, nice mountain in the back, and about 50 acres of land. That was owned by a family, Mr. and Mrs. Leggett, Frank Leggett and Betty Leggett. So they owned that property. That's where Swamiji was residing for 10 weeks with his brother monk, Turiyananda, who came during the second visit of Swamiji to the West. So this incident I found in the book by Mary L. Burke, New Discoveries, the second visit of Swamiji. And this is an incident that I'm sure you will find amusing. Mrs. Leggett one day was visiting the quarters in which Swamiji was given the accommodation. That is called the little cottage. They had many mansions and all that thing, but the little cottage also is not so little. It had 5 bedrooms and then kitchen and all those things. But Swamiji was given that accommodation of 5 bedrooms, so he occupied the front bedroom. The bedroom behind it was another which Swami Turiyananda occupied. So when Mrs. Leggett came to see how the guests are doing, are they comfortable or not, so he went through the rooms of Swami Vivekananda and found everything okay. Then she came to visit, she's the landlady, visit the room of Swami Turiyananda, and she found the mattress of Swami Turiyananda is not on the bed, but it is lying on the floor. So kind of a little bit strange. I said, what's the matter, Swami? Is there anything wrong with the bed? He said, no. Bed is perfectly fine. See, Swamiji stays in the other room. I cannot sleep at the same level as Swamiji, so I put my mattress on the floor so that our levels are different. See how much respect and reverence they had for the Guru brothers. So I thought that you will find, I found it was very amusing to see that kind of a reverence. Anyway, now I will come to my talk. This I collected from the Bengali book Sri Ma Samipe. That is actually a recollection of different devotees, bhaktas, who came in touch with Sri M and their recollections of those. So this was collected by Swami Chetananda. And Swami Chetananda, of course, he has written that big book. But this also appears in that one. But I had started doing the translation from the Bengali because it reads a little bit different for me when I read the Bengali, so I started doing it. It is the recollection of Brahmachari Yatindranath. And I find this particular article because it had some snippets of what Sri Ma, his life was, what kind of philosophy he had about light, and what kind of teachings he generally used to give and talk to the disciples. So, few things here and there. Whatever songs Thakur used to sing, Sri M used to sing the same songs. Other songs he did not cherish much. So this is one song I have translated. You probably can figure out. I made you the pole star of my life. Do not make me lose my way anymore in this ocean of life. Some of you know what I am talking about? What is the Bengali version of this? Good. Good student. Tomarei koriyachi jiboner dhruvotara. It's a very beautiful song. Now, see how Sri M reacts. Sri M would ask, what capacity do we have that we can make him, meaning God, the Almighty, our pole star of life? So he believes that it is not we have the right even to make him. Because who are we? We are not the person. The real doer is God. So that is his philosophy, is that everything is being done by God. We are just instruments in the hands of God. If he by his own kind grace does it, only then it is possible, not that we make him. The songs, by listening to those, Thakur used to go into samadhi. Each of those songs is like a mantra by itself. They have such power in them. This is a strange, wonderful country, talking about India, whatever you do, if you sing a song and it takes you towards Ishwar or God, then only it's acceptable. If you eat a food, if it develops sattvic qualities in you, then it is a food that you should, or else you should reject it. So, one day, a sadhu from the mutt came to sing a few songs to Sri M. First two songs did not have any relevance with Thakur or his life. The third song, in Bengali I'm going to read it, Ma achen ar ami achi, bhavna ki ache amar, mayer hate khai kori, ma niyechen amar bhar. Many of you know that. Only mother is there and I alone am there. What is there for me to worry about? Mother's hand feed and clothe me, and mother has taken complete responsibility of mine. The sadhu sang these two lines with great emotion. Sri M did not want him to sing the rest of the song. He said, Mother has taken our responsibility, we have no worries anymore. That's the last word, no need any further. So, yes. Now, another thing that he had was that people should have respect for their parents, and this is an example of that, an incident. He did not like anyone to join any voluntary organization without the permission of their parents. Thakur also used to do that thing, just get the permission or make sure that your parents are taken care of. One night, somebody came and informed us an 18 or 19-year-old boy has committed suicide in Sobha Bazar area. Being heartbroken at his mother's loss, he has left a note on a piece of paper, quote, I am coming to you, mother. So this is the note left by that young 19-year-old boy. Hearing this, Sri M's eyes swelled up with tears, and he said in a choking voice, that place is a Mahatirtha, a place of great pilgrimage. I have heard of people committing suicide, losing their children, wife or husband, or some financial losses, but never heard of suicide, losing a mother. That son is special. For sure, God's kind grace will be on him. These days, most of the relationships have become weakened. Only the Matribhav, love for mother, has remained intact. Actually, Thakur's life also, he came to reinforce that Matribhava. Thakur used to say, with Matribhava, respect for mother, God is pleased easily. And that's true. Mother's image, actually you can go close to mother than anybody else. Sri M continued, the other day I saw a strange sight. On one side of the street there is a marriage Bharat procession is going with full grandeur and pomp. On the other side is passing a funeral procession with Ram Nam Satya. You know the contrast. One is a very happy occasion, pleasant. The other one is the saddest moment of. Sri M says, well, the person who died, how much unfulfilled ambition and aspirations he had, hope he had, all vanished and gone in a second. Even then people don't think of their own death. The death after which there is no more death is the real death, meaning the end of the cycle of death, birth and death. So, a janame ghotale mor janamo janmantar, that is the Bengali, that the line for that. Also, he explained how impediment is the power of lust in your life. Lust takes a terrible dimensions when one lives in solitude. It appears in its full force. Other desires which do not have the courage to raise their ugly heads, they all appear with vengeance. In the solitude one can recognize one's own true nature. It also helps remove your ego and you find out what is in yourself real images. Let the sadhakas, the spiritual seekers, be forewarned for the future. The seekers of spiritual path with flickering mind, be careful of the solitude. It can be dangerous for the weak-minded. So when you are doing the solitude practice and all that thing, lust always comes as an impediment. It is also in Bhagavad Gita, Jahi Satrum Kama Rupam Durasadam. Also Sri M talks about the benefits of Sangha life, means the lifestyle of living in the Ramakrishna order. And if you live in Ramakrishna order or some kind of a Sangha that has the spiritual practice and the discipline, it helps you to develop yourself. The one who can stay in the Sangha relinquishing all personal desires and serves others with selfless service, those two things, having dasa bhava, just like a servant, is very fortunate. If you get the opportunity of living like that environment, consider yourself blessed. Sangha is actually an image or form of God Himself. He manifests through the Sangha. Without the Sangha, the message of the avatar does not spread. It disappears. The main objective is self-realization, Bhagavan Labh, and with the sincere and true attitude of renunciation, like the Ramakrishna Sangha, will stay stable. If one of the two is absent, the Sangha inevitably going to fall. So these two things are absolutely essential for the Sangha to stay and continue to serve the people. Now taking prasad is another ritual that something worth watching, how Sri M used to do that. How much respectful and reverential was the way Sri M took prasad. He would remove his shoes and then wash his hands and face with water first, reciting the name of the particular deity's name. He would take a tiny piece of the prasad and touch that to his head and forehead before putting into his mouth, as if he is present face to face in front of the deity. He would say, how lucky we are, how far are Rameshwar, Dwarka, Puri, all those places of pilgrimage, how far they are located, and yet we are fortunate to receive the prasad right here without traveling anywhere. As if we touch them right from here, we do not need to take prasad big amount. Prasad kanika matram, only a slight amount is good enough. So when you take prasad, these are the rituals that he followed. I think that tells us how to act ourselves when we take prasad. Visiting Dakshineswar was another thing, because many times many of the devotees would come and Sri M, they would request him to be his guide, and many times he took the devotees with him, including some foreign dignitaries also with him, because he knew the place through and through. So it was a great opportunity for people to visit Dakshineswar when he would give a visitation to the Dakshineswar. But you see how careful people had to be. Whenever he would visit Dakshineswar, he would remain very reserved all the while. Looking at his eyes, the places he sat, and the way he moved about, one would feel as if he was in the company of his dearly beloved Ramakrishna of the old times in Dakshineswar, the time that he lived together in the presence of Thakur. Whenever Thakur would sit, Sri M would, as if sitting next to him and listening to his Kathamrita. So he is as if Thakur is with him. In the Nat Mandir, he would embrace one particular pillar. One time Thakur, embracing this pillar, had said, Antaranga devotees are just like this pillar, inner pillar. Whichever trees Thakur had touched, Sri M would embrace those trees. He would also visit the room in the Kutibari in which Thakur stayed during his lifetime of Rashmani and Mathur Babu. The devotees or the visitors with him had to be very cautious wherever they were in places like Thakur's chamber, Beltala, Panchavati, etc., while taking a seat, walking or standing, because when Sri M is there, he is as if in the company of Thakur. Many did not realize that Sri M was in the company of Thakur himself at that time. In the mother's temple, he is sitting in an open veranda. This is one incident. So what happens? A group photo is being taken. One devotee was just about to sit next to him. Next to him means next to Sri M. He would immediately say, "No, no, please don't sit here. Thakur is sitting here. We are all sitting next to him. We are taking his picture, not ours." See how his thinking was. The Thakur is present. Probably he saw Thakur himself because he was so much in union with Thakur. I thought it is not an imagination. You might say it is an imagination. Probably he saw Thakur walking with him, side by side. From the temple to Beltala, whether on the road or on the bank of the pond, wherever he had conversations with Thakur, he would stand there for a while and mentioning the date, day, etc., would talk about Thakur's words. So again, this many people who had gone with Sri M say he was just like a walking Kathamriti, because all these old incidents he would remember and recite them one by one. So what Thakur taught at that particular spot. One day there was a picnic being arranged in the Panchavati. Just before the prasad distribution, he was saddened to learn that Ramlal Dada was not invited. Now, Ramlal Dada is a family of member of Ramakrishna. Immediately he sent more than half portion of the yogurt and sweets to the house of Ramlal Dada and said, "They belong to our Guru family and are to be revered. The family in which God himself is born, they belong to that particular family. How fortunate they are." So we should not have any, no matter how much, you discard your own feelings about that, because they are the family of our Guru, Thakur Ramakrishna. Now, this is an incident again. Whenever Thakur, anybody, Sri M would visit Kamarpukur, Kamarpukur is the birthplace of Thakur. So when he would go there, whenever some devotee has gone and visited Kamarpukur and has come back, he would welcome them. "Look, he is coming from Holy Land, Jerusalem." That is the birthplace of Jesus Christ. And serve him sweets, etc., with great respect. He used to say, when first regarding his own visit to Kamarpukur in his own life, he said, when I went first to Kamarpukur, I used to ask people on the streets, the farmers in the fields about Thakur. I felt like hugging them, as if how intimate and close they are to me. Looking at the trees and the birds there, I used to feel how fortunate are they because they saw and touched Thakur. Whoever told me anything about Thakur in the village, I used to bow to him, because Thakur has changed my entire outlook. And visiting Brahma Samaj was another thing, because Thakur used to go to Brahma Samaj sometimes. So Sri M followed that same ritual. Thakur used to visit the Brahma Samaj quite often. Sri M also used to visit those places once a while. In the Navavidhan temple, where Thakur sat, he would choose to sit in that same section only. The day Thakur visited Navavidhan, he would visit Navavidhan every year on that particular day. Now, this is an incident about following the rituals of our religious festivals, like a Hindu. So this is talking about that. Once on the eve of Kali Puja, he wanted to visit Kali Ghat or for darshan, but someone objected because of the heavy crowd. Those occasions very heavily crowded, those temples. Somewhat annoyed, he said, "Is this the crowd to buy a ticket at the station or to buy a ticket for cinema? This crowd, everyone wants to have a glimpse of the deity, darshan of the deity, Mother Kali. How noble is the motive. So don't worry about the crowd or the jostling." He says, if this body goes due to the jostling of the crowd, so be it. Today is a special occasion. The householders must observe these festivals. For the Hindus, from the birth to death, the whole life is a continuous flow of religious festivities. Those who observe faithfully the path prescribed by the scriptural instructions, great souls and avatars are born in those devout families. They are not born into any dissolute families. And this is, again, I'll end up because they're looking at the clock. The watch here at 12:43, so some of you getting a little bit hungry also, I guess. Don't worry, there's a good food after that. So one day on a visit to Durga Puja celebration in Cornwall Street, now Vidansarani, watching the joyful dancing and play of the young children, Sri M commented, "See how Mother Durga, how she is blissfully playing, seeing the children asking for the sweets, etc." He said, "See how the mother is engaged in the lila. Is she present only in the images? Wherever there is bliss, she is present there." Looking at the vegetables in the College Street market, Sri M said, "See, the mother is present. These vegetables, eating these we survive. It is the mother only who has taken this form for our sustenance and survival. The mother pervades everything." So he saw practically in everything. And this is again from Gita, that yomang pashyati sarvatra sarvang chamai pashyati dasyaham napneshami nacha punashami. So if you have that kind of a look, then you already are a God realized soul. One day Sri M said, "Let's go and visit Vrindavan." Then he went to the roof of the building and pointing to the room in the sky, he said, "This is the same moon which rose once over in Vrindavan and witnessed Ras Leela. Thus, seeing this moon, we developed a contact." So his imagination mentally, and so we are in contact with Vrindavan. Right now we are in Vrindavan. The mind transcends time and space. So this is one form of meditation one can do, and whatever is in your mind, actually that's what it will become. So you are constantly thinking of the holy places and the company of holy people. You become that because you derive the same kind of attitude in your life also. An apprentice for the Kathamrita, that I think Vishwanath already explained that to you. Sri M continued, "Just to write this Kathamrita, for how long he has been preparing to train the person of his liking, that we don't know. When I was in grade 7, it's probably 1867, I used to write a diary. In the town hall, Senate hall, I used to listen with great attention to the talks and discussions of the invited distinguished speakers. I used to note down the time and dates with their names, etc. in my diary. After about 15-16 years of practice like this, I had the fortunate coincidence of meeting Thakur. What a sacred and auspicious moment that was. It drastically altered the entire course of my life, which you know." So I will end with that. We have more things to talk about, but I think we will end at this point. I think everybody is also feeling some in their stomach, but I think so.
We will not have Sankirtan. We will end with
Another song?
Mangala Mangalya.
Oh, okay.
Because it is getting a little bit delayed.
Okay, we start. All right, Sarva Mangala Mangalya. All right, so we'll end up with that. Thank you.
सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते सृष्टिस्थितिविनाशानां शक्तिभूते सनातनी गुणाश्रये गुणमये नारायणी नमोस्तुते शरणागत दीनार्त परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्ति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय 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 श्री राम कृष्ण देव की जय जय श्री शारदा देवी की जय जय श्री स्वामी विवेकानंद की जय जय श्री बुद्धदेव की जय जय श्री जीसस क्राइस्ट की जय जय श्री माँ की जय
Let us say grace.
Arpanam Brahma Hari Brahmanam Brahmanahutam Brahmavate Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
O Lord, please accept our offering, bless us, make us pure and all loving. May we not accuse, demand, or complain, but love, respect, and obey you, Lord. May we not find faults with others, but try to find our own faults. May we not treat others as strangers, but learn to make all our own. May we lead the whole world to be our own. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So please proceed to the basement where there is the food kept and start feasting.
I'd like to say a few words of thanks to everybody for coming, and particularly those who helped me in organizing this thing, particularly people who volunteered, Avijit, Mukta for singing, Tushar for your tabla accompaniment, and Pranav for his accompaniment on the instrument. And who else sang? Charlie sang, and Vishwanath, and Prithvish, Avijit, of course. Avijit, you have double because you did. So, huh? Yes. And above all, to you all for coming and being present here. That itself is a service. And Swamiji, definitely. Please give your blessings to everybody. Thank you so much. All right, let's proceed downstairs and enjoy, because this is a birthday celebration. Remember, birthday. So enjoy. Just enjoy the food, be happy. That is the whole idea. Okay? Don't be serious. Thank you.